Hi, this is Bailey from Caffe del Mondo, and today I'm going to be telling you about how to refill your Verismo 580 pods, because those things are pretty pricey to buy from the store, and this has saved me a lot of money personally. So first I'm going to start with refilling the espresso pod. And I'm just going to put 2 tablespoons of espresso in here. You might want to tamp it down with a spare pod at first. I'm going to get a spare pod. Just tamp it down just lightly. Then I'm going to put my 2nd tablespoon in. And it should look like that when you're done. Now we gotta cut a top piece for the cover. Just cut a piece of tin foil about this size and cut it into a circular shape, just big enough to fit around the pod. It needs to be big enough to fold over the edges of the pod, so keep that in mind. And just dust off any edges of the pod that have a little bit of coffee on them. And just start folding the foil around the sides of the pod. This process should be fairly easy after you've done it a few times, then you'll have it down. It was hard the first couple times I did it, but then I had it down, and it turned out to be pretty easy. It should look like this when it's done. Make sure the foil's tight on it, and that's one pod. Now we're going to fill the coffee pod. This is a little bit different. You're only going to need about 1 tablespoon of ground coffee. Make sure it's ground for a coffee machine, not a French press or espresso ground. But always make sure your espresso is ground to espresso ground, which is a real fine ground. So we're going to only put 1 tablespoon in here of coffee. You don't need to tamp it this time. Just make sure that all the edges do not have any coffee on it. You will repeat the same process as you did with the espresso by cutting another piece of foil for the cover. And cut it the same as you did for the espresso pod. Sometimes if you take double layered foil and you cut the same shape, it'll be a lot easier for you, so you don't have to keep on cutting the foil if you decide to refill your pods. And so now we're just going to do the same process by folding the tin foil over again. Make sure it looks the same as the espresso pod. We have one down there. And now we're going to be talking about the tea pod, which you can put about anything in that's powdered. You can put powdered milk, hot chocolate, you can put powdered tea in there, and it should all work because it just runs water through it and makes it a drink. and they usually turn out pretty nice. So now I'm going to put some hot chocolate in this pod. And before you want to do that, if you've already used your pod, there's going to be a small hole in the bottom. So you just want to make sure you cover that with tin foil so that your powdered drink does not leak out. Just cut a little square about the size of tin foil and place it down in there. And you might want to use a spare pod to flatten the tin foil down in there and make sure that it's in there pretty well tight. And now we're going to put the hot chocolate into our pod. Now you only want to use about 1 tablespoon depending on how strong you want this powdered drink to be. So I'm probably just only going to use 1.5 tablespoons of this. And again, you want to make sure that your edges do not have any powder on them or anything, because that can leak out of your pod and into the drink, especially with coffee grounds, because you don't want any coffee grounds in your drink. And we're going to do the same as we did for the past 2 pods, and we will cut another circular shape of tin foil for the cover